Right, this is a quick road test video. This is for a Honda Accord. It's quite a rare model. This is the 2.2 i-DTEC Type S version. This particular car is registered, wait till I stop, AK61DHC. And mileage at the start of this brief road test is 73,325 miles. The reason we do the road tests, as I said, all of them, is that we want customers to see the cars they're looking to buy from us in operation prior to coming to see us. That way, you know, if there's anything we have to feedback, good, bad or otherwise, and we do that, it's a critical road test, then we can do that, and it can just save people an awful lot of time and energy and money. We don't want people coming and being disappointed with the cars they come and see from us, certainly from a mechanical point of view. Everything else is pretty much subjective. The road tests are also done on the same roads as any road tests are conducted on when customers come to see us. The reason for that is that hopefully what I feel should be what you feel, and then you can hopefully see if I'm telling you the truth or otherwise, quite clearly. Also worth pointing out that, you know, since we moved out here, road tests have become a lot more relaxed for our customers. We used to be in the centre of Bristol, where it was very busy, and it was quite unpleasant for road testing cars, in all honesty. Whereas here, it's generally very, very quiet indeed, he says, as he meets his first traffic jam probably ever down this road. So starting with the car itself, car's literally just come to us. I'll talk more about the dynamics of the car because there's quite a lot to talk about on this particular vehicle, but I'll try and go through the car one by one and pick up on anything I can for you. So starting with the engine, those that know this particular car will know that this engine produces nearly 180 horsepower. This isn't a standard diesel engine, this is their hot version. So the standard Accord diesels, which you'll find in the ES or EX models, will have 150 horsepower, and so this one has nearly 180 horsepower, and you can really feel it. This engine absolutely flies. It's very smooth, starts absolutely instantly. There's no warning lights on the dashboard relating to the engine or any other part of the car, but the unit is wonderful. Great power delivery, very smooth and refined in operation. There's none of the kind of the whistles and whirs of the earlier CTDI engines, and obviously it's a cam chain driven engine, so there's no cam belts on these cars. Normally get to 70,000 miles and you find that you buy the car and only to be hit with a sort of £500 bill for a cam belt service. No such thing on these vehicles, which is, and also I don't like the fact that engines are joined top to bottom by a bit of rubber, but there we are, by the by. As I said, engine absolutely faultless, pulls beautifully, really does. You know, I've had a couple of Type S diesels, and you know, this is obviously the facelifted version where they revised the car, and they must have remapped it in some way because it seems a lot quicker than the ones I had previously. But it's a wonderful unit. Engine feeds through clutch and into gearbox. Clutch on the car absolutely smooth in operation. The actuation of the clutch pedal, the bite point is perfect on the pedal travel. When the clutch is depressed in or out, there's no engine note change, there's no vibrations coming from the engine at all. That, you know, is more common on the older CTDI engine, where the clutches are quite lightweight by comparison. These are much tougher units. We've not touched one yet, so you know, but in essence the clutch is absolutely as it should be. Likewise, gearbox, you know, another stonking Honda gearbox. Lovely gear lever, of course. You've got the very much like the S2000 gear levers, where they put the little bit of leather wrapped around the chrome, because on a cold morning the chrome gear knobs can feel absolutely freezing in your hand. So hence this little bit of leather just makes them more comfortable to use on sort of cold mornings. But the gear change quality is absolutely brilliant. It really is it's a lesson to other manufacturers on how to do this. You know, the actual defining of the gate, the quality of the synchromesh, but it has, what I love about these Hondas is, you know, like 99% of cars, I guess, they're front wheel drive, you'll find that the gear lever here is actually joined to the gearbox underneath by cables. Now on a lot of cars that usually equates to a pretty soulless, lifeless gear change. You can be vague in operation at worst, with indecisive, ill-defined gait, but this is it's as close to a rear-wheel drive gearbox as you're going to get. It feels tight, it feels unbelievably defined in terms of its actuation. You can't get lost in it. It's there's springing between the gates, especially when you drop back sort of 5th to 4th like now. It always finds its way home absolutely beautifully. I mean, it really does. I mean, it's meant to be kind of the sportier Accord, and so if you're inclined to sort of hustle along with it, you don't want a kind of recalcitrant gear change which is bulking or getting in your way. You want something that's actually going to add to the enjoyment of the car, and it does exactly that. It really is a wonderful gear change. Also, the mount point of the gearbox is really nice in terms of kind of where got my hand on the armrest here, and naturally falls very comfortably on the gear lever here. I say that's not always a given. I find some cars are up here, you've got to hoist your elbows up, and it just makes them, I don't know, just kind of weird to use. Sort of, you've got to kind of think about things where you don't want to when you're pushing on. Super gearbox. So in terms of powertrain, absolutely spot on. This car's also equipped with active cruise control, which I'll set now. It's a brilliant system. They've had it out for years now. Unlike most cruise controls, which basically, if you're going too fast to catch up the car in front, you've got to quickly press a button or hit the brakes to disable the system. This uses a radar, which you can set the different sort of distances to the cars in front. And if you find that you're going a bit too fast, the car will maintain the gap to the car in front and then speed you up afterwards. It's a wonderful system. It really is very, very clever indeed, and it works absolutely perfectly. Very, very quiet in here. I mean, I'm doing the legal limit now, and it's very hushed and quiet. And again, I'm pretty sure they must have increased the sound deadening, because this is much quieter than the previous ones. So it also points to the fact that door seals, windscreen are all very well fitted, so there's very little wind intrusion. It's a horrible day today, so it's windy and blustery, and I'm very, very well insulated from that noise here. Steering of the car tracks absolutely bullet straight. There's no vibrations from the steering wheel at all. And again, they must, with the revisions, have improved things, because I don't remember them steering as nicely as this. This uses the electric power steering system, which most modern cars now use. But this has got a lovely weight and directness about it. It's one of the very best steering systems you're ever going to use, and attached to what I think is probably the best chassis in any mid-range car in the real world. It's wonderful, and again, it rides so comfortably, which beggars belief that the thing can handle as well as it does, and it handles absolutely astonishingly well. The quality of the damping is absolutely superb. Body control over undulations, yumpy, bumpy roads is brilliant, but what it does is smothers out these little potholes like that there. You hardly feel it sort of permeate into the car. It's just a lovely, comfortable car, but it has a real appetite for corners as well, which I think is, a wonderful combination. Point of the video is to pick up on any wear, of course, and there isn't any. There's none in the gear lever, there's none in the powertrain, there's nothing in the steering, there's nothing in the suspension. It rides beautifully without any noises coming up through, not a feel or ounce that, sometimes you get in a car and it just feels a little bit old, a little bit tired, a little bit sort of worn, as hit, gone over our crummy, horrible British roads, potholed, and sleeping policemen, and traffic calming things, which play havoc with suspension on cars. But this just feels like brand new to drive. It's wonderful. The only thing that doesn't feel like brand new, and they're not bad, is the brakes. In all honesty, they feel actually fine. Sorry, that's a tell a lie. They feel fine. But when we do our mechanical checks, it's going to go in for a service and full pre-delivery inspection. But we did note straight away that whilst they'd probably pass an MOT, the brake discs on the front have got a lip, which means they've got wear, but they wouldn't give enough wear for us to pass on to a customer. We wouldn't do that. So it's going to have brand new discs, front discs and pads fitted. Rear discs are okay, but the pads, again, they'd certainly pass an MOT. They may advise them, but we're inclined to get them changed, in all honesty. So it's going to have pads front and rear and new discs on the car. Obviously the engine will be serviced as well, so it'll all be in fine fettle. Looking around inside the car, in lovely condition. What the videos cannot do, unfortunately, so you do have to take my word for it, which is unfortunate for you, but I try to be as honest as I possibly can on these things, is just how solid this car feels. It's from the way it rides, clearly, but also from the fact that there's not even a hint of a squeak or rattle from the interior trim of the car, which you don't really get on the Accords. They are beautifully made cars. They really are. I love the dashboards. They're very simple to operate. You've got a lovely big screen sat-nav system on the car, working absolutely perfectly, but also audio controls up there as well. Further down here, readout for your radio and your climate control system. Obviously on the Accord you get dual zone climate control, so you can do side to side different temperatures for differing sort of comfort levels with passengers rather. But it's the way everything works. It's the precision of the switches, the quality of manufacture of pretty much everything you touch in here is absolutely astonishing. It really is. But it all works absolutely beautifully. Coming across to the main dashboard here, we've obviously got typical Honda binnacle, so very nice and symmetrical, easy to operate. Are you going to go back, or am I? I'm just going to go back, bless them. So you've got a lovely big dominating rev counter, and you've got a little rev prompt light there as well. And then obviously you've got your speedo to the right of that. Temperature gauge on the left, reading a 3rd, which is exactly what it wants to be on any Honda car. And on the right hand side, obviously fuel gauge as well. In the middle of the speedo, we've got a information display, which you can just scroll through pressing the button on the dashboard here, giving you kind of MPGs, how much fuel's left, that kind of stuff, who's got the seatbelts on, who hasn't. And again, all functioning exactly as it should. Then you come to the main steering wheel of the car and the controls around it. Obviously auto lights, auto wipers, which is a lovely feature on these. Audio controls on the top left. Top right, we've got controls for the auto cruise control, and underneath we've got buttons for the distance control for the cruise control as well. And then down here, all your information display controls. On the left hand side, bottom left, we've got hands-free functions for compatible telephones, but behind that, probably the only gimmick on the car really. I'm sure some people use it, but you've got this sort of voice activation, so you can tell it to put your fan speed up to, or do various other functions. But that's fine when you're stationary, but when you're going along at speed, you ask it to go to Glasgow and it'll probably put you onto radio 2, I don't really know. Heated seats, leather seats in wonderful condition, really supportive. I'm just checking the heater and that works beautifully. That's actually red hot actually, it's very nice indeed. But it drives and feels wonderful, it really does. I can't criticise the car in terms of its drive. So the only thing we've picked up on prior to the test drive of the car is just the condition of the brakes, which, as I said, they probably would pass an MOT, but I don't think you're going to give enough use for any of our customers. So they're going to be attended to, as I've said. But overall, we're looking at a car that dynamically, I think, knocks pretty much all its competitors for 6. because it's a rounded package. It's probably the most reliable car in its class by a long way, and I'm talking at this age of mileage, not when they're brand new and you're covered by manufacturer's warranty. You've got a dynamically, it's an absolute peach of a car. It is genuinely enjoyable to drive for those that like to sort of push on. It rewards that. If you're not in the mood, you could do Scotland and back in absolute comfort. It's very quiet, it's very smooth riding, it's beautifully built, and what I probably think I like about it most, it's not the obvious choice. You know, people will leap into a Passat or a BMW 3 Series or an Audi A4 or, you know, whatever. I think, and I am being biased, I know I am, but I think this is a better car than any of those. Dynamically, yeah, you could argue that the 3 Series on the absolute limits, if you're very good at sort of controlling it, you know, a car at speed, gliding through corners sideways, and that's fine. But, you know, apart from racetracks, you're not going to do that. At all other times, a BMW is less comfortable, less refined, and nowhere near as reliable. And the same goes for the A4, but that's just a pudding of a car to drive by comparison to one of these. So I like to think, you know, it's different from the norm, and all the better for it. But the point of the video, as I said, was to pick up on anything. There's very little at all on the vehicle. If I've missed anything on the video, it genuinely isn't by intent or design. You know, please do call us and I'll answer any questions you might have. This video, I do apologise, it is longer than most, but this is a genuinely lovely car, and I think it just merited a little bit more in terms of kind of just seeing the car, how it drives, and a bit of feedback into just what an amazing car this really is. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and hope it's been of some use to you, and we hope to hear from you soon.